From St. Kitts and Nevis to the world, Freedom FM 106.5 FM. FreedomFM1065.com.
Reliable, dependable, Delta.
If you live here in St. Kitts and your tank on E, there's only one place that you should be. Maybe driving in Nevis and you need some fuel. Go straight to Delta. Don't be a fool. Get your cooking gas fast. All petroleum needs ULSD. Everyone in the region is shouting, Go Delta. Premium gasoline in a fully stocked C-store. So there's only one place you should be. Delta Petroleum, baby.
Every day we're faced with choices. To spend or to save. To delay or to stay on track. It's discipline that shapes our future. Because discipline means making the choice today that pays off tomorrow. Remember, discipline, choice, pays. A message from the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis.
What if your money did more than sit in an account? What if it built dreams, supported families, and empowered futures? At St. Kitts Credit Union, we're more than a financial institution. We're a family that believes in your potential, rooted in people helping people. Enjoy competitive savings rates and low-interest loans for mortgages, vehicles, education, and more. Need security for you or your loved ones? The Family Indemnity Plan and Loan Protection Insurance give your loved ones peace of mind, whether you're saving for school, building your business, or planning for tomorrow. SKCU is here for you. It's not just about banking, it's about belonging. Contact us at 465-2272 or any of our branches. Learn more online at www.skccu.com. Become a member today and be a part of something greater.
Have you heard that Mind, Body and Soul is back?
Yes, Mind, Body and Soul is back on Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Freedom FM, hosted by the inspiring Julie Charles. This is your go-to show for thought-provoking and uplifting conversations. Every Sunday, dive into topics that nourish your mind, body, and soul. From wellness tips to personal growth to deep conversations, Julie brings you the stories that inspire change and spark reflection. Don't miss out. Tune into Mind, Body, and Soul on Sundays at 4 p.m. and let Freedom FM guide you to a more balanced and inspired life. Mind, Body, and Soul on Freedom FM, Sundays at 4 p.m.
Get the Freedom FM app now. Just search Freedom FM app on Google Play or the Apple App Store and start listening today.
Oh, good afternoon to everyone. It's a beautiful Caribbean day in St. Kitts and Nevis. It is 1:44 p.m. and you are listening to Freedom FM 106.5. We are broadcasting from Sugar City, St. Kitts. Our listeners say we are world-class radio at its best, and we boast that we are. This is Issues with your host, Coach Adrian, and you believe me, from the bottom of my heart, it is always great to have you on my show. As usual, I always ask you to allow me to reach out, and I want to reach out particularly on two issues, two things. One, but first let me hail my boys and them. Oh, my listeners and them. There are so many all over United States, in the Caribbean. But look, there are some special boys on them that I want to hail at Bass, Auto Engineering and Repair Shop, St. Peter's. Now, if you know Bass Auto Engineering and Repair Shop of St. Peter's, this is world class. Another world class like Freedom FM. Look, guys, you want all your body work and all your diagnostic to be done, and you want all your anything you can think about getting you right on the road. Check Bass Auto Engineering and Repair at St. Peter's. Hey, guys, it's nice to have you on my show. Secondly, I said that I need to remind all my fans and all the Caribbean people that the West Indies cricket team is in this World Cup. West Indies cricket team is playing in the ICC World Cup T20 taking place in India and Sri Lanka. And let me tell you why. The whole of Saturday night I didn't sleep. I stayed right through with them because I wanted to make sure that they get their passage straight to the Super 8. And right now they have done exactly that. They have played 4 and they have won 4. And not just that what they have won, but it's the way they are winning. They are showing a certain amount of application, a certain amount of responsibility, a certain amount of commitment that is just magnificent. It's beautiful. And I want to zero particularly on Rutherford. Rutherford is back in form, and not only that he's scoring, but is the discipline that he's showing. Before, to me, Rutherford was simply see ball, hit ball, but look, he is applying himself. And look, Sammy is convinced that we are going for our fourth title, having gotten it in 2012 and 2016 under him. Now, guys, the games are televised at 1:40 a.m. That was the one I stayed whole night. At 5:40 a.m. and 9:40 a.m. In fact, West Indies is playing the last group match on Thursday. That is 1:40 a.m. If they win that, they will win all 5 in the group. Now, I know 1:40 a.m., 5:40 a.m. are odd hours, but let me give you a secret. For those of you all fellows who are young and you all do not know what happened in the 70s and the 80s. In the 70s and 80s, particularly in the 70s, we didn't have television, We didn't have television. And when West Indies was playing in Australia, particularly that 1974-75 series where Viv and Greenwich made their debut, and everybody came back with a broken arm, a broken face, a broken leg, and whatever. And Lillian Thompson made a mess of us. Let me tell you what happened. We only had radio, but we stayed all night. And Test cricket used to go the full 5 days. And in the morning, you have to go to work. So, guys, rally around the West Indies. Sammy says we need to get it a third time. Okay. Now let's run. Let's run like Julian Alfred, Juju. The fastest woman in the world. 100 meters in 10.72 seconds. And Juju call it Lucia pressure. Now let's go. Let me just reference again the Haitian League of 19 January 2026, but just to pull the extract that I want. I have read that quotation for you several times. Countries, that is with respect to the negotiation between the United States and the 7 CARICOM countries with respect to accepting deportees and asylum seekers from America. And I quote, countries refusing to cooperate are exposed to sanctions, including restrictions on visas and difficulties in corresponding banking. Last week, we sought to look at the issue, what is it that got us in the situation that we are in, if you want, the new colonialism, this time not UK, but the United States. What is to be blamed for our dependency on the United States, and who really put the region at risk? Today, I want to complete last week's discussion, and if we have the time, I want to start talking about the risk to the banking system and the economy of the West Indies, of the OECS, in particular, with respect to the threat on the corresponding bank. So today is part 2, the Caribbean dependency on the United States. Last week, of course, as I said, we discussed the contributory negligence. I'm deliberately using this insurance phrase. We discussed the contributory negligence of the pro-American Caribbean political leaders and political parties and opinion setters. Oh, my listeners were very hot. We had a lot of calls to the extent that I had to close the call, and I'm very sorry for that, guys. But I felt I needed to respond to some of the issues and whatever. So when you are calling, it would be nice, because remember, we have a policy here of cutting nobody. I don't want to cut nobody. So if you have 6 points, so make 3 points. If you have 4 points, make 2. If you have 1, make 1, and you can always call back again. So let's go. Last week we discussed the contributory negligence of the pro-American Caribbean political leaders and opinion setters and political parties. Here enters the new class of career politicians. The pro-Americans, not the only one, or is not the only one that has contributory negligence, but the new class of Caribbean career politicians. The shift to the career politician, according to the literature, is observable from the late 1970s and the 80s, with younger and degreed persons becoming MPs, replacing the old models of our nationalist politicians, of course, who brought the blunt of the development pressure. The career politicians view politics as, now, what is the career politicians? Career politicians view politics as a pathway to accomplish their personal accomplishments or dreams, their vision. They place priority on their own career survival, fundraising for their re-election, and they place all of that over the public good for which they are paid. That's how the literature defines the career politician. Let me say it again. They view politics as a pathway to accomplish their personal dreams. They place priority on their own career survival, fundraising for re-election over the public good for which they are elected and paid for. Unfortunately, this class of politicians is without generally, by and large, an ideological terms of reference. They're not like the nationalist leaders. They are not like the nationalist leaders. In fact, one of the nationalist leaders, George F.L. Charles from my country in St. Lucia, at the end of his political life, he did not have a house to live in. The people had to come together and build him with the government a proper house to live. Why am I saying that? Am I saying that the politicians have to be poor? That's not the point. The point that I am saying, it is the degree of altruism that I am talking about. So, the new class of career politician, they do not really have any strong ideological terms of reference. So in that context, they are deepening our dependence on the United States, which in a sense was facilitated by the pro-American leaders and parties. I want you to get me right. Consequently, the political parties that they lead, and most of these political parties are labor parties or are termed labor parties, are labeled labor parties. The political parties that they lead demonstrate in their behavior, in their governance, no philosophical or little philosophical fulcrum. I do not know how I get that word, fulcrum. There is really no clear line of demarcation today as we speak between the pro-American parties that we spoke about last week and the traditional labor parties. You cannot tell. You cannot tell which one is labor and you cannot tell which one is capitalist. You cannot tell which is for the people and you cannot tell which is for big business. This is what we have under the new career politicians. There is a blurring. You could have told us the differences in the traditional parties. Basically, under Bradshaw, you know exactly what Labour stood for. France, Southwell, Limor, name them. You know what they stand for. Sam Condor, you know what they stood for. Yes, but since the late 70s into the 80s, the 90s, and to present, that line of demarcation between the capitalist parties or the pro-Republican parties and the Labour parties is so blurred you can hardly tell the difference. Which one is for the people and which one is for big business. Because the key thing is, for those career politicians, is staying in power, getting re-election, what we call 5 more years. Mind you, Caribbean Labour parties, they still wear red on Labor Day or May Day. They still wear red on Labor Day or May Day. And I'm going to talk a lot about my St. Lucia Labour Party because I know it, I was associated with it. Perhaps one exception, the Barbados Labour Party still has a right to wear red, and I'm going to say more on that later on. So I am not including the Barbados Labour Party in that discussion, in that blurring and lack of philosophy and lack of ideology. Please, Maya Motley, no, Peter, not saying that. Please, I'm not saying that. But the rest, they still on May Day, they sloganize. They still sloganize on the political platform. They still sloganize in the events. They are still chanting the marching words and phrases of the workers' movement. The masses, workers' rights, oppressors, them capitalists, forward ever. But in their heart is not in any progressive movement. I did not even know I would say something like that. Yeah, so they still use the slogan. They jump and they still wear red, but they know very well that they don't even know how the word progressive spell. Many have never, and I challenge you, many have never, or if they did, maybe many, many years ago. Many have never read the history of the very party that they represent. And I will not put my neck on a block, but many have not read the history of the workers' movement, what it's all about, where it come from. Many have not even read of the 1940s turbulence in the region. Many have not done that. Many have not read. Many of them are not even informed of the history. So they are in the party. They do not know the history, so they don't know where they are going. That is why they don't have any ideological or philosophical fulcrum to hold them. By and large, Labour parties have lost their identity, their mission, their philosophy, and their vision. Most of them, perhaps with a few exceptions, and I said Mayor Motley's Barbados Labour Party is not in it. They are not in that. So I am removing them. So most of them, with a few exceptions, are like what Jesus Christ speaks in the book of Matthew. They are like salt that have lost its saltiness. You know, salt, it have lost its savor. Jesus Christ says they are only fit for being trampling underfoot. In fact, one or two of them are like sinking ships without a captain. Captain, the ship is sinking. Shall we stay on board or shall we bail out? The people are shouting, Captain, the ship is sinking, but the leader cannot see. He cannot hear. He cannot understand the message. The people want to know whether to stay on board or should they bail out. Because there is no ideological fulcrum, there is no philosophical fulcrum, there is no development program, so they can't answer. And the people are shouting, we are perishing. Labour Party governments have corrupted themselves with the delicacies from Babylon, from Assyria, and Egypt, and have become enclaves of party hacks, deal makers, freeloaders, and leeches. By and large, our taxes are paying for die-hard party supporters who could not find in the market. They couldn't find work in the market because they cannot sell their skill. They don't have enough skill. Where they have the skill, they don't have the confidence. And they are basically, they are being rewarded for loyalty. So they provide safe havens for those who throw stones and for friends and families. Now, knowing that very well, mind you, those current politicians are not stupid. Remember, they are degreed people. They are intelligent. These people are intelligent. They are certificated. So, they know very well that they have lost the confidence of the people, and fearing the wrath of the people, particularly at election time, they buy their votes with jobs, with money, with scholarships, and other inducement too numerous to mention. I did not have that written. It just came to me. They buy their votes with jobs, with money, scholarships, and other inducements. It just came to me. Too numerous to mention. Here is a good example. You might say, Coach, why you get all these things you're saying? Why I get all these things I'm saying? I'm experienced. I speak to people, I read, and I am aware of what happened in the Caribbean. Here is a good example. The St. Lucia Labour Party, where I come from. I know this party. I know it. I know the party. I know that. I know what I'm talking about. I am partly attached to that party because I wouldn't vote capitalist parties. The St. Lucia Labour Party that I know of and that exists now is not even a capitalist party. as we used to accuse and chant down the United Workers' Party. We used to accuse them and chant them down. And when they feel too chant down, they give us tegas. Yes, it's endless tegas. But the current, as we speak, the current St. Lucia Labour Party is not even a capitalist party. We call the UWP Bobolists. But now, all their names perhaps may very well be on that same list, the Bobolists. Highly degreed men who do not even know where they come from. That's the Labour Party in St. Lucia. They do not know where they come from. They win votes. They do not know where they come from. And they don't know where they are going. The only thing that they know, one thing, what to do to stay in power. The new political culture introduced by the Labour Party, that's very sad. I'm talking about the St. Lucia Labour Party. The new political culture introduced is to buy votes. I never knew that. We never knew that. We never knew that. Foot soldiers had to work. You had to produce. You had to stimulate the economy. You had to educate. You had to empower. You had to link up. You had to connect with the household. But what they do, before election day, that happened during the last election, before election day, the politicians tell you how much money they are prepared to pay and where to collect it. Oh, Judge Charles Odlum and the rest of them would turn in their grave. If they were to come back, they go back to the grave. They can't take it. They can't take it. Because the new correct politicians, lacking a sense of history, lacking an ideological framework, lacking a philosophical framework, having no fulcrum, what they are doing is basically to make sure they nourish their career and ensure that they stay there to achieve their personal goal. That is what we have come to. So the Labour parties in the Leeward Islands, they are more intelligent, perhaps, than those of the agrarian countries like St. Lucia, Dominica, I suppose, St. Vincent, maybe Grenada. But I can talk for St. Lucia. They're more intelligent and they are more savvy. The correct politicians are more business-like. They are more entrepreneurial than those in the agrarian St. Lucia. They don't leave the outcome of the election to chance. They don't simply offer you money and tell you where to collect it the day before election. They remember, they are worried. Remember, they fear because they know the people feel marginalized. They know the people are intelligent and the people know basically they don't really have a sense of affinity. So they bring in plane loads of overseas party supporters or paid voters to vote them back in office. That's what they do in the Leeward Islands. We have not learned that in the Leeward Islands. We have not learned this one in the Leeward Islands. Well, when I came here, I only started when I came here in 1991. And the fellows have not learned that. I suppose they do a little bit of that down there, but they have not learned that. So they are the agrarian type people, the agrarian. Now, let me just give you an example of that. And let me draw from cricket. You know, In one of, the Ashes series between England and Australia is very famous. And every year ICC makes provision for them to play each other in a 4 or 5 test series. The last one just gone there, and Australia really gave England a very bad beating. Yeah, they gave them a bad beating. Australia plays extremely good cricket, but they are in trouble now. They're not doing well in T20. Sri Lanka just beat them. Even Zimbabwe beat them. So, in one of these famous Ashes Test series in England, now, just like the English team is followed by a large group called the Barmy Army. Now, the Australians likewise have their following, their fan base. Now, there is one fan base, the Fanatics. Now, the Fanatics, they stayed there and they saw a number of fellas going in the wicket and getting out and coming in. It's like a procession and whatever. So, they can't understand that. So they started a chant. And the chant was, who are the imposters that are playing for Australia? And then the crowd caught up that. Who are the imposters that are playing for Australia? Why am I drawing from that? By and large, the career politicians, most of them are imposters. In other words, they're not of the cloth of Bradshaw, Southwell. They're not of the cloth of Errol Barrow. They're not of the cloth of Eric Williams. They're not of the cloth of John F.L. Charles. No. It is unfortunate that the majority of what I call that cloud of witnesses. Now that's very strange because you see, in the biblical sense, the cloud of witnesses are holy men of God and women of God. But I call them that majority of that cloud of witnesses because they're not really performers, they're not producers, they are witnesses. They are men. Isn't it strange? Think of it. It's unfortunate that the majority of these people are men, male heads of government, performing dismally, deepening the vulnerability of the small island economies, increasing the dependency of the region on the United States of America, putting the people of the Caribbean, hardworking people, at risk. This brings to mind a movie that I love. I love laughter, so I have a lot of movies on laughter, and just like I have a lot of movies on sports. And when I want to kind of cool off, particularly at dinner time, I play a movie of laughter. Now, one of the ones that I played very often is Mr. Doubtfire. Mr. Doubtfire with Robin Williams. Now, if you haven't seen Mr. Doubtfire, you're really missing some solid laughter, but you have to look at Mr. Doubtfire. Now, Robin Williams, in the movie, he's moved with compassion, yet for a man who is taking his wife and his children from him. So he's really disturbed that the man is taking his wife and his children from him. Actually, he had to reconfigure himself into Mrs. Doubtfire. I said Mr. is Mrs. Doubtfire, so that he can see and remain in contact with his children. So, but the point is that he's moved with compassion in that restaurant towards that man, because the man was choking, although he was a contributor to that. He jumped over several tables in that restaurant, from one end to the other, jumping and running to save that man from choking, shouting, and it's the shout that I like. What was he shouting? Help is on the way. What was he shouting? Help is on the way. But you have to look at that movie. I want to console myself, and if you will be consoled by that help has always been on the way for us in the Caribbean. Help has always been on the way for us in the Caribbean. But coming from the plantation society, the Caribbean has been managed to the ground over and over again. The Caribbean has been managed to the ground over and over again by what I call an unspoken manners rulers culture. I learned that when I lived in Jamaica. Manners rulers culture. Man rules. The more the men do poorly, the more we vote men back into office. Isn't that? Have we ever sit down and think how ridiculous that is? So that manners rulers culture, the more they do badly, the more they do poorly, and some of them will never be able to do well, because if you can't manage yourself, you can't manage a country. You can't manage yourself. You can't put yourself in order. You're not disciplined enough for your own self, for your own household. How can you run a country? Yet, it is true that women are the backbone of the Caribbean economy. You can doubt it if you want to. Given our manners and rulers culture, you can jump high, you can jump low, whatever. But the literature is supporting this thing all the time. Women function as a critical pillar of the economic stability of the region, of the household in particular. And remember, it's the collective of the household economy that stabilizes the macroeconomy. Women provide community support, the pillar of community support, and the pillar of enterprise. Women are particular. I suppose because they are sacred. God made them sacred. They can create things. They create. They can make things. They can survive. And at the same time, they can survive on very scarce resources and yet provide comfort and provide hope. While men have historically dominated the high growth sectors like oil and gas in Trinidad, Guyana, other places, women drive key industries. Check it out. The services industry, agriculture, tourism. But what do we want? We want a man in charge. We want a man in charge. And it was so distressing for me one of those days. I was discussing that with a woman, and she told me she prefers a man to rule her. Well, that is what she says. But here's a lesson for all of us. And I'm quoting from Reuters. Reuters reported, and I quote, for the third straight general election, the Barbados Labour Party claimed every seat in the House of Assembly, delivering yet another 30-0 mandate to Prime Minister Maya Mottley and solidifying her dominance of the island's political landscape on 11 February 2026. For 3 consecutive terms. When she came in the first term, all the men ran away. When I found all of them, in fact, they vilify her, they call her all kind of names and whatever. Look, they gave her all. In the second term, I think they gave her 28 out of 30. I'm not too sure, but I think they gave the opposition maybe 1 or 2. Now, they come back and give her all again. So what the people are saying, we have found our Messiah. And our Messiah is not a male. It's not a male. It's a female. Now note the difference. This is the same woman leader, Mayor Motley, who told her people just before election, and I quote, "We would rather risk losing our U.S. visas done terminate our medical services, terminate the medical services provided by the Cuban doctors, end of quote. When America tried to pressure her, like they are pressuring the CARICOM countries, and my country in St. Lucia have already bowed down to that, and so much bowed down that he get himself in a mess with the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. She bluntly addressed the nation. She spoke to the nation just before election. Say, look, I am not doing it. I am not. Look, they can hold all their visas, but these people, they have carried us. They are carrying us. Look, they are our doctors. They are our nurses. They're providing the technical skill. They're providing the scholarship. They say, that's it to America. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine this honesty and this boldness just before election? And what is the result? The people love her. They love honesty. They appreciate dignity. They appreciate spirituality. They appreciate truth. They appreciate virtue. They gave her all. Where are the men? Where are them? Where? When she came in the first time, she took the country in its dire state. Dire state. They have no money to cover the imports. Less than 2 weeks. Import cover. Infrastructure is falling down. The hospital is falling down. Buses falling down. The sewage system in a mess. So much so that sewer waste is moving on the street, is flowing on the street, down in the sea towards Austin. She brought all that back. Why? Is it because that she is better than all the rest? Maybe she is. Maybe she is. Maybe she is. But listen to her victory speech, and I quote her victory speech. Our mission, first and foremost, is to stop poor people from being poor and to remove injustice wherever it exists to create opportunities for our people. End of quote. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I met her once, I met her. She came to St. Kitts. I met her at that restaurant over there on the peninsula. But I really wish to meet her again. And if I do meet her, to tell her how much I appreciate her and how much I love what she's doing. She's the voice of the Caribbean. And she is setting a model that the rest of them have to look up to. And some of them cannot look up to because they have no philosophy, they have no ideological fulcrum. Now, I'm thinking aloud. That just came to me, I'm thinking aloud. Could it be that Maya's stewardship and leadership is sending us a signal in the Caribbean? Could it be that her stewardship, because it's not just over 5 years, not over 10 years, over 15 years. And it looked like, if she wants, she can die there. Could it be that it is sending us a signal that it is time to give the region over to the performing women? Could it be that? Well, something just came to my mind. The People's Action Movement, PAM, has answered the question. Yes, the People's Action Movement have answered the question. And the development in Barbados is giving credence to the perception. They have answered the question, yes, the time is right. PAM is saying here to the voters in St. Kitts, yes, the time is right. And they are giving St. Kitts an opportunity to consider the Honorable Council Natasha Gray Brooks. Now, I am going to take an advertisement break. After the advertisement break, I'm going to open the line. And then when I open the line, I am now, if we have the time, I am going to go into the other threat on the assault, the threat to the corresponding bank and the banking system. Let's take an advertisement break.
From St. Kitts and Nevis to the world, Freedom FM 106.5 FM. FreedomFM1065.com.
Go Delta, go Delta,
Reliable.
Go Delta,
Dependable.
Go Delta,
Delta.
Go Delta.
If you live here in St. Kitts and your tank on E,
Go Delta,
there's only one place
go Delta,
that you should be. Maybe driving in Nevis and you need some fuel.
go Delta,
Go straight to Delta.
go Delta,
Don't be a fool. Get your cooking gas
go Delta,
fast.
go Delta, go Delta, go Delta, go Delta,
All petroleum needs ULSD.
go Delta, go Delta, go Delta, go Delta, go Delta, go Delta.
Everyone in the region is shouting, Go Delta. Premium gasoline in a fully stocked C-store. So there's only one place you should be. Delta Petroleum, baby.
Every day we're faced with choices to spend or to save, to delay or to stay on track. It's discipline that shapes our future because discipline means making the choice today that pays off tomorrow. Remember, discipline, choice, pays. A message from the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis.
What if your money did more than sit in an account? What if it built dreams, supported families, and empowered futures? At St. Kitts Credit Union, we're more than a financial institution. We're a family that believes in your potential, rooted in people helping people. Enjoy competitive savings rates and low interest loans for mortgages, vehicles, education, and more. Need security for you or your loved ones? The Family Indemnity Plan and Loan Protection Insurance give your loved ones peace of mind, whether you're saving for school, building your business, or planning for tomorrow. SKCU is here for you. It's not just about banking, it's about belonging. Contact us at 465-2272 or any of our branches. Learn more online at www.skccu.com. Become a member today and be a part of something greater.
Have you heard that Mind, Body, and Soul is back?
Yes, Mind, Body, and Soul is back on Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Freedom FM, hosted by the inspiring Julie Charles. This is your go-to show for thought-provoking and uplifting conversations. Every Sunday, dive into topics that nourish your mind, body, and soul. From wellness tips to personal growth to deep conversations, Julie brings you the stories that inspire change and spark reflection. Don't miss out. Tune into Minds, Body, and Soul on Sundays at 4 p.m. and let Freedom FM guide you to a more balanced and inspired life. Minds, Body, and Soul on Freedom FM Sundays at 4 p.m.
Get the Freedom FM app now. Just search Freedom FM app on Google Play or the Apple App Store and start listening today.
Welcome back to Issues with Coach Adrian. You're listening to Freedom FM 106.5. We are broadcasting from Sugar City, St. Kitts. We have just finished our second part of our discussion that we started last week as to who is responsible for deepening our dependence on the United States. Last week, we spoke about the role played by the pro-American leaders, thinkers, and political parties. This week, we close with the role of what the literature called the career politicians who head the Caribbean labor parties. And how they are contributing to deepening the U.S. dependence and the region's vulnerability to the U.S. We are opening the phone line now. The number to call is 662-1065, 465-6474, or 465-10546. Is already online. You on air.
Yeah, good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon. Speak to me.
You didn't answer last week's question, but we can move on.
Give it to me. I can as well. I can write it down if you want.
Peter, you were so between wicked and wicked this morning. The Labour parties in the region has lost their way. They forget poor people. And Mayor Montilly, she have to send the trend. Because this Labour Party in the Eastern Caribbean, they're about people. And you put it so right. They're about the money and aligning themselves with money, not people. And we're going to clean up that because it's women time. Not just in City Tower Nevis, They're going to get a awakening of their life. Peter, I'm going to be long. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much.
Before I go, Peter, I want to congratulate Dr. Richardson for his 40 years anniversary of serving this country well.
Yes.
Dr. Richardson.
Yes.
I remember the youngster watching cricket at Warner Park in Mr. Eddie Steele's stand where he paid out the pocket for. And the bleachers were presently there still. Doing the statistician for the cricket. And asking the Lord to give him long life so he could give us 48 more. Have a good afternoon, Doc. God bless you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Thank you. It's gone? That is correct. And you see, we have to understand this thing. I mean, the people are people. People are not things. And I remember in the 70s, in the 80s, people gave their lives to build those parties. People suffered much for those parties. Okay, somebody, I'll continue. So you on air, please.
Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon, please.
Yes, your analysis was spot on, in my opinion. Okay,
Oh, very much. Talk to me.
Yeah, it reminded me of a sign I saw on the Belizean, Guatemalan border. Fear no man but God.
Good.
But anyway, I think there's something that was missed in comparing the leaders then and now. Okay? I remember a Barbadian politician saying that I want to live to see the day when there's not a blade of grass growing in Barbados. And the other politicians took him to task because they said, basically they forgot what reared him, what he was brought upon. And that's the big difference with the politicians then and now. Because the politicians now, especially in the OECS, they had a CBI that brought in hundreds of millions of dollars, whereas the politicians before had to scrape and struggle and figure out ways to continue the growth after independence, right? And it is a shame to see what they have done with all this largesse. And as you pointed out, the parties now, the Labour parties now, are nowhere like the Labour parties from before, right? They become very transactional, as you can see from if you delve into the politics for a number of our territories, okay? And now your prescription, well, I wouldn't say it's your prescription, but you noted that Mayor Motley seems to have the kind of leadership that we need, okay? The kind that doesn't grovel, that sit down, that settle down and do the work, the hard work, okay? And you're suggesting that it's a matter of gender. I don't think it's a matter of gender, to be quite honest with you, right? I think it's a matter of commitment. Our politicians now have become cynical. They don't want to put in the work. They prefer to engage in politics all day and punish the enemies and reward their friends. And if you do it in a particular way, you win the second term that you desire, right? How we move from that, I don't know, to be quite honest, because it seemed to have worked for them, and so they don't seem inclined to change it. But what might change it is you mentioned the fact that some of them are most all of them are pro-American. Well, they have a reality check coming, okay, because the Americans, the only thing they're pro is pro-America. And they are going to have to develop some kind of strategy in the face of that. Okay, so I just thought that that particular aspect was missing from the analysis, the fact that they're so different. Yes, they don't believe in ideology. All of them are the same, which is why so many voters and so on get cynical, which is why there's less participation in elections, which is why you don't, the marches, like Labor Day marches and so on, are nothing like what they used to be. Because people get turned off from this kind of cynicism, all right? So I just thought I'd bring those kinds of interventions to the fore. But I like the analysis, to be quite honest.
Before you go, could I ask you a question before you go?
Sure.
I want you to take your time, if you don't mind. Speak to me. Speak to the issue of the woman's model of leadership. I boldly think aloud that the People's Action Movement have answered yes. They have, and now some people might argue. Now you don't have to agree with me. Some people might argue, oh, nobody wants it, so they give it to her. But people have decisions are not just knee jerk. I want you to People's Action Movement have said, look, here's my lady. And notice there's a similarity. I'm not saying that in all areas. Mayor is a brilliant lawyer, and she has a great party BLP track record. I mean, she was there. She has been bullied by ONF and name them, and she survived. And she's rather greatly intelligent. Pam is saying, here is a woman. Here is a woman we believe in. Here is a woman we believe who have leadership quality. Here is a woman we believe who have honesty. Here is a woman who believe we can deliver. I want you to, if you don't mind, speak to that for me, please.
Well, what I would say, and by the way, yes, we tend to forget, but there's another woman leader in the Federation, in Nevis, the other part of the Federation, remember?
There's one in Trinidad too, but I'm deliberately not mentioning them.
Yeah, no, we were talking about the local one.
Talking about St. Kitts.
Yes. Well, they St. Kitts and Nevis, okay? We can't separate.
No, Mark, not St. Kitts and Nevis. I know the Nevis Reformation Party has a lady. I know that.
That can also become prime minister depending on the results of next election.
Yeah, but that's a long shot.
Okay, fine.
Talk to this one for me, please. I beg you.
All right. It is a change, no question about that. And underlying our politics, I think, is not so much, like I said, the gender, but the fact that people wanted change, genuine change, not more of the same, okay? And Shani offers that, okay? She also offers a kind of compromise in the sense that it's male dominated at the moment, okay? And bearing in mind the dynamics, the mere dynamics, and what she brings to the table, the electorate, you may call it default, but the electorate can well decide, man, these guys keep messing up. Let me try a woman prime minister this time. Okay? To me, there are other factors involved.
Could I push you a little further?
Yeah.
Look, they have tried other models. For example, during the pinnacle of Douglas, they say, okay, let's form a unity party, all right?
Right.
They tried that for 7 years. That implode.
Right.
So put that together with the model of the woman.
Again, what it suggests is there's an alternative way. There's another way, because you see, in my opinion, what my mantra has always been, if you elect a group of people and it doesn't work, you change. And you keep changing until you get the change you want. So Shani would Gray Brooks would fill right into that mold of, well, we tried A, didn't work out, we tried B. No. Shani represents C. Change and see what happens. Okay, because you see, if there's no great ideological difference between the parties, then really and truly, it's almost like it don't matter who you elect, and the leader becomes ever so important, right? Because they are going to shape the future. Their policies, their style, everything is going to shape the future. And if you have currently the same old, of course people may be attracted to something different. It might be stepping out a bit into the woods, into the unknown, but hey, what we got to lose? You know, that's my thinking anyway.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I must tell my listeners that I have on my schedule that to make a visit to the Honorable Council and ask her if she would like to come to my show. I really want her to come to my show. I want to have a conversation with you. We're going to deal with some of the issues that the caller raised. Somebody is on air. You on air, please?
Greetings.
Greetings, please.
We, the political Westminster style politics and leadership and representation, we hear what you all are saying concerning the Labour Party. Tell us, which party in the political scheme of things have served the people as they ought to in St. Kitts and Nevis and the rest of the Caribbean region? Tell us.
Tell us more.
No. I'm waiting for an answer.
I'm writing it down. So I'll respond to it after.
We heard the reason that is ongoing concerning the Labour parties in St. Kitts, Nevis, and the rest of the region. We are asking, within the Westminster style politics, which party have served the masses of the people as they ought within the scheme of things? Which party outside of the Labour Party?
I'm writing it down. I'm going to respond to it.
We lay up and listen for your answer. That's it now.
Yes, okay. I'm going to respond to it. I'm going to respond to it first. I'm going to deal with it first before I go on to what the previous caller said. You say which party have served. When you pose a question like that, the question has to be related to the framework of the party, the philosophy of the party, and what is it that the party leader was seeking to achieve. So, and of course, the period within which the party operated. Somebody online? Okay, okay, fine. The period in which the party operated and the constraints that they had to deal with. So, for example, one can argue, and the previous caller made the point, he said, look, in the new period, say let's take St. Kitts, under Douglas, under Timothy, under Drew, you have what we used to call at the central bank a slush fund, a product called selling passport or selling citizenship that in a sense would finance your deficit on your budget, and sometimes not only finance, but give you surpluses. We saw Timothy made surpluses even after the virus, and a lot of that came from the CBI. But if you Look at what the other leader, the speaker said, the listener said over there. He said, look, before that, and I know that, the country's leader had to find ways to stimulate the economy and, to a large extent, to on whatever grant that would be provided by the UK to supplement or at least to finance somewhat the deficit that is always there on the budget. So when you look at that context, one can argue that with the constraint, Bradshaw did a beautiful job. Philosophically and ideologically, perhaps if bad health did not reach him, he would have, because you saw his vision and you saw his action. Now, let us take, for example, let's take Eric William. Eric William, even if he was not socialist, or you couldn't call him communist, but he understood development. And when he died, he left Trinidad. Not only that Trinidad was well developed on the development path, that they had discovered oil and whatever, but he managed the fiscal account so well, he left Trinidad with $4 billion in reserve. So in other words, when we say which leader have been able to deal with the people well, we have to be careful. We have to take it in the context of the constraints of the time and what they had to work with. So in a sense, I give Eric tremendous credit. I give Bradshaw tremendous credit. Now, let us take, it depends on what you're looking at. Let us take, people say I always talk about Douglas. Okay, I'm going to get back to that. You on air, please.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Mr. Coach, how are you doing today?
I am doing very well, and I'm very pleased that you could participate and call and educate on our program. Thank you.
Well, praise God for that.
Me.
Yes, I listened when you made reference to that of movies that you looked at, especially a particular one, and then you emphasized that the person cried out for help and help and help. And I thought of Peter walking on the water, and he took his eyes off of Jesus. And then because he took his eyes off of Jesus, he began to sink. I believe that some of these leaders who we have in our Caribbean took their eyes off of those leaders of the past with the kind of wisdom and knowledge and understanding and intelligence that they had. Actually, I believe that some maybe didn't even have their eyes on them. So they would have been there thinking all the time. And so those are things that we need to look at, because for sure our leaders, generally speaking, are far from having any, just a little thing of what some of those past leaders had. And sometimes I wonder, Mr. Adrian, what kind of and type of advisors some of these leaders have, the prime ministers and what have you, and the different ministers of government. The other thing is, you spoke to that of wondering why, using my own words, that governments fail, or ministers fail, or constituency representatives fail, and people still put them back in. vote them in that they're doing bad. They're not doing good. They're not fulfilling generally the promises that they have made, and yet people vote them back in. And it's all because of a lot of lack of knowledge to people who vote. And a lot of party politics. So this is my party, this is my party. So persons are really blinded to that of, like Mr. Mahan usually say, listen, you try this one, they fail you, maybe you give them a chance again, and they're failing you again, you get them out. So we need to develop this mentality of getting people out. I don't deal with party politics. If I'm voting, I look at the parliamentary, well, not the parliamentary, the constituency representative, and see what they are made up of. Maybe before, I used to focus on a party here and there, but not now, and for a long while now. And so these are things that we need to look at. And speaking lastly about the Prime Minister of Barbados, I'm telling you, I believe, with all due respect, that maybe she needs to call all of these leaders of the Caribbean, sit them down and lecture them, and they behave like little children to her. Because some of them are behaving as if they know it all.
Somebody gonna beat you, you know.
And don't listen to the voice of the people. And you know, when I get very compassionate and excited and so on. Sometimes I prefer not to hear certain things because I would get in that frame of mood and spirit to want to go on all the airwaves and just address the nation with the things that I'm pregnant with in terms of how leaders can operate in a different way. Because I'm telling you, these leaders, well, just like how Miss Watley, and I'm closing off now, could make those type of statements in terms of what you quoted there. Listen, words to the effect, I prefer to lose all what visas we can get for Barbados than to put aside Cuba, who have produced so much to her country. And I want to know, these leaders do not have minds of their own. You mean you can't stand up, even if everybody else gone that way, and say no to things that you know are going to cause your country to get into problems? Because
go and tell my Prime Minister in St. Lucia what you're saying there.
Beg your pardon?
Go and tell that to my Prime Minister in St. Lucia.
Well, I've heard you spoke about him. I leave that to you.
Now, go. I want to ask you a little question. I want to indulge you, if you don't mind. Would you please speak on, just like I indulge ask the last speaker to indulge me. I want you to indulge me. Give me, based on the women's model. Pam have said that, look, the time is right. Here is the model. Speak to that for me, please.
Well, I would say that regardless of how people see women or men see women, because of what is happening with our male leaders, that they are failing us, maybe it's time for them to take a back seat and to let women who have the guts or appear to have the guts to come forward. I leave it that way.
Thank you so very much. Oh, it's a joy to learn so much from you. It's a joy to learn from you. Now, I want to respond to one more thing, and I did not get to finish respond to the other caller who asked the people who have done well and whatever. And if we not, I'm going to come back to it, and maybe it can be a next time. But the caller have the last caller have raised an issue there. It says that the career politicians have departed from the philosophy, not only the philosophy of the party, but they have failed in a sense to benefit from the legacy of the party. Now, I argued before and said that I posed the question, how many of our MPs of the Labour Party know what Labour Party stands for? Because you see, we are in what we call constituency politics. Our model is called constituency politics, first past the post, meaning that all you have to do to win an election is to get one vote more. And the second thing, and the more important thing that you have to do, is to get someone who can win a constituency. It doesn't say that you have to get someone who is learned. It doesn't say that you have to get someone who's certificated. It doesn't say you have to get someone who is experienced. It doesn't say that you have to get someone who is self-disciplined. It doesn't say that you have to get someone who is entrepreneurial. It doesn't say that you have to get someone who is godly. It doesn't say that you have to get someone who is honest. It doesn't say that you have to get someone who is virtuous. It says you have to get someone who can win that seat for you, as long as, according to the Constitution, he is not debarred. Maybe he's not a criminal, he's not a bankrupt, or this and that and the other. So in the constituency politics model that we have, basically, you can have a house full of MPs, and they don't have to have any connection or understanding of the party that they belong to. They don't have to even read anything, because the manifesto, most of the manifestos, you look at them, these are picture albums. Now, I don't read that anymore. Now, mind you, I collect all of them. I have been collecting manifestos since I came here in 1991. And I believe I have more manifestos than anybody else here. I collect them, I look at them, and whatever. And sometimes when you compare one with a next year, they don't have connection. So the point is that you are saying, the previous caller said, here is the leader. Let us take, for example, Bradshaw. Or let us take Simmons. Simmons, I have always argued, his government set up the infrastructure of this country. When I say it, some people don't want to hear that. And I remember when I came here in 91, when the Labour Party took power in 1995, some people, when I say that, they disagree with me. The basic infrastructure for takeoff in the country was already there. And I always differ with them on that. And one of the things that I highlight is the peninsula. When I came to the central bank, one of our revered economists from the central bank in Barbados, we went to a tour with him on the peninsula. And of course, our revered economists, when they say something, you shut up. Even if you differ, even if you're right, you shut up. You listen. And he looked at the road, and he looked at the kind of expenditure that must have gone into developing that peninsula road. And Delay Worrell said, I can never forget it. He says, what a pity, a road that leads to nowhere. And it never left my mind. I thought he was wrong, but you cannot tell him he's wrong, because I'm a junior economist. I mean, I can't do that, and whatever. And not only that, I was a freshman central banker. You can't question the god of central bank. You can't do that. And then, but I always marveled. I said, that don't make sense, because I said, Alpha Lewis said, if you want to spur development, some of the things that are critical, one, a basis for them to do savings formation, you develop as many branch banks as possible. And then he said roads, because what transportation, a modern transport road does for you, it opens up, if you want, the possibility for activity, for production, for this, for investment, and so on. Today, when we look at the peninsula, hallelujah, because we must say that was Palm's vision, magnificent vision. You can't take it whether you like it or not, whether you like the party or not, whether you vote for them or not. This is a brilliant idea, and you can't take it from them. You cannot. Then, of course, apart from that, they built the other infrastructures, the concept of Port Zante, and the expansion of airports and governments building. You can't touch that. Now, that was the platform that I argue that Denzel Douglas would come and he would build on that and take off the country from a low middle income to a first world economy. I've always said that. So that is very, very, very important. So that is the point that he was making. The career politician, the degreed boys, they come in, they believe they know everything, and of course they take all the ministries around them. And because whenever in the Caribbean, remember the Prime Minister is king, when they come in, they want to control the money, so they must have finance. They want to control the police and the defense force, so they must have security and whatever. Now, in St. Kitts, it's important, if you're a prime minister, you have to control land. Because the land that Bradshaw got, the state became a capitalist state. So you have the power to disburse and whatever. But the point that the caller was making is they are not connected to look at, in other words, the strategy, to look at the model, to look at perhaps even that, the mistakes that were made and how you can. And if you have some of the old heads with you in the party, you should see yourself as being blessed because you can learn from them, you can garner from them, because a lot of the mistakes that they make, you don't have to make that mistake too. Why? Because they are there to guide you. And that is the point that he was saying. And he was saying he wished that it was possible that Mayor Motley could call all of them together and give them a nice lecture or have a brainstorm with them. They were not going to do that. Caribbean men don't do that. Caribbean men, now mind you, it is the women who perform well in schools. Most of the dropouts are men. The people who excel, the people who get the high certificates, and the people who are very intelligent are women. They are the one, and in fact, in some cases, the men don't work, the women work to take care of them. But the thing is, people, perhaps it is a quality of the new generation. That's not the new generation, the generation of the career politician, that they believe that they are doing something new. But, even nature teaches that. And the present is built on the past. The present is built on the past. In fact, there is no present without the past. There is no present without the past. And then the argument that the caller is making is that perhaps one of the failure is there is that disconnect, the disconnect between the old and the new. A disconnect, but I say a disconnect also in the philosophy, or if you want, the roadmap of the party. The roadmap of the party. Where that party come from. Why the party was organized in the first place. Why? What has it achieved? How did it achieve it? For example, when I look at St. Lucia, the Labour Party that I know of the Labour Party of the people, the Labour Party of the working class. The category or the class of people who are running it is not connected to that. And you tell me that you make an announcement before election, how much money you're going to pay and where the people can go to collect the money for them to vote for you. It means you know that you cannot deliver anything. If you can deliver, you don't have to buy their votes. And if you can deliver like you do in the Leeward Islands, you don't have to bring no plane load. The people plane load who come and vote, they don't live here. The issues that happens at the development don't affect their life. It does not concern them. But if you have confidence in your people, let your people develop and decide your future. All right. Now, we don't have very much time. We have only 4 minutes left. So I think I'm going to leave the issue on the correspondent bank to an other talk show. And I am just going to try to answer or deal with some of the issues raised by the callers, because next week we are having our talk show on CARICOM. As you know, the CARICOM having the 50th conference here in St. Kitts from the 24th to the 27th, and that is the Tuesday. On the 23rd, I am bringing an expert, and we are going to discuss the vexing or the divisive and the fiery issues that right now confront CARICOM. I don't know. I have not seen the agenda. I don't know if that will be part of the discussion of that 50th conference. So let me close. Let me just thank all the callers. Thanks the callers for your education. Some of them were not able to deal with the issues. The one who called and asked which of the leaders have contributed so and so, I gave a cursory answer, but I promise I'm going to give you a more detailed response on that. I will give you a more detailed response from that. The other caller, with respect to Mayor Motley, I don't think Mayor Motley will ever call a meeting or call them together. She will not do that. And I don't think they themselves will ever orchestrate a meeting like that, because in the Caribbean is manus rulus. The man must control, even if he is the worst performing in the Caribbean, worst performing in the school, worst performing in government, worst performing in enterprise, but the man does not like to humble himself. He does not, and some men don't even humble themselves to their wives. They don't humble themselves. I want to thank you. I want to congratulate you for those who have called, and for those who tried to call in but you could not get in. I want to apologize. Next week, same time, same place, we are going to have a very, very hot topic. It will be fire. We'll discuss where is the CARICOM integration in the context of all the issues that is taking place, the issues of the deportees, the issues of the asylum, the issue of the Cuban connection, the issues, and new things are happening. Even before I came in there, some Vincentian maybe at sea or whatever, they got a kill and whatever as part of the U.S. Camouflage or movement in the Caribbean waters. Things are happening. Things are happening, and the turbulence that we saw in the world, the uncertainty that we see in the world, we are beginning to realize that the world is not as far as you think. It is beginning to impact closer home. It is beginning to impact in a very marked way in our Caribbean, which is supposed to be a zone of peace. Bye-bye. Nice to have you. Until next week. Goodbye.